Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. This time, it's the Galileo 7. Not 6, not 8, but 7. The Galileo 7. Speaking of numbers, that's a terrible segue, but...
We're on our second book of the Quarterly Book Club.
Yeah, thank you, Samantha. Samantha Stark is here to talk about the Quarterly Book Club.
Yes, Quarterly Book Club.
I nailed it.
Totally. So we're on our second book of the Quarterly Book Club. You would have seen our very first episode hosted by myself and co-hosted by my two friends, Katie and Mary. We read The Woman in Cabin 10, and right now we are halfway through quarter 2, reading William Landay's Defending Jacob. So, prominent lawyer, small town. His son did something bad. Did he do it? Did he not? I don't know. Read with me and find out. Go to IABDpresents.com, click on the Quarterly Book Club icon, and you'll find out how to join us at bookmovement.com.
All right, and while you're at IABDpresents.com, go visit our flagship. It's not a starship, but it's a flagship. It's the IABD Radio Hour. It's the one that started it all, and it's update of old radio serials, including one which I mentioned before, called Universe Journey, which is very much, it's like a Western, but it's not really. It's got some sci-fi elements, so please check that out. It's very entertaining, and if you want to check it out live, the next one is May 13th at 5:30 at Mad Lab Theater, and while you can also check out Mad Lab's latest Theaterlet, the 18th annual Theaterlet Shorts Festival, with 3 different rotating nights of short plays, including some of the IABD crew members. For tickets and information on all that stuff, go to madlab.net. And now, get ready to get on board the Galileo 7 with the crew, which means it's probably going to be like the Galileo 11 of It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before.
Stephen Woosley, I am here.
Amanda, I'm also here.
I'm also here.
You don't have a distinctive voice.
And that was Keith.
I don't think they could have figured it out.
And,
I didn't know who you were, and I'm looking right at you.
they've never listened to this
I was
before.
like, who is this stranger?
and Jimmy-Jerome is definitely not here.
Jimmy-Jerome.
Jimmy-Jerome.
Are there other people here that were just talking as well?
I heard at least one other voice. I think we have some new guests this time.
New guests. What? My name is Samantha. You might have heard me on, It's All Been Done Radio Hour, and Oscars are my Super Bowl.
And QBC, Quarterly Book Club.
And Quarterly Book Club.
And
you can
Stark
read along
Story
with
Snacks.
me. And Stark Story Snacks. You can read
hear
what I
her
write.
voice there, though.
I know, but she read them. Lots of stuff on
Wrote them.
IABDpresents.com, our network. Check it out.
Can I pitch my
Yeah.
my new podcast?
No.
Please. Go for it.
I'm Carl Bergeson. You can find me on a new podcast that just came out a few weeks ago. It's called How Have You Not Seen? It's me and my friend Carson make each other watch classic movies. The first one is Carson hasn't seen Psycho. Right? So that's the whole thing. That's
a great
the whole
premise.
conceit.
I like
So
Do we want to get these guys Star Trek?
Yeah, I was going to say, Carl knows some stuff about Star Trek.
I know some stuff about Star Trek. I've seen like a pretty solid shotgun blast of Star Trek episodes. I've never watched like the whole series. But that's actually what I'm working on right now. I did write my undergraduate English thesis on Star Trek because I have a lot of friends. But yeah, so I watched.
You have a lot of friends. I thought it was like mid-sentence.
That's not usually where I like Star Trek goes with. It usually goes with I don't have a lot of friends.
That's what I was going for. Maybe,
Oh, okay.
maybe it didn't read.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Scan.
I got you,
Yeah.
Carl.
I originally was going to watch it on, do it on Star Wars, and then I just couldn't figure anything out, so I did it on Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's way more a lot more material than to talk about.
Stop.
Just let the man talk.
So I couldn't. But that's exactly the point. Is I couldn't really figure out anything to write about. So
I approve already.
I love Star Wars. I love Star Wars with my whole heart and soul. But
He had you, now he lost you.
And then Samantha over there had never, ever seen an episode of original Star Trek ever.
I told you I've seen one scene of original Star Trek, and
scene.
I've seen one scene.
Do you remember what scene it
Yes,
was?
I remember exactly what scene because it's what turned me off from wanting to watch anything else. Because I was like, "Is this really what
What's
it
the-
looks
what
like?"
was the scene?
I did not grow up watching Star Trek. If my dad didn't watch something, we did not watch it. I've never disliked Star Trek. I just never knew anything about it. Yeah, when I was in the Navy, we were out to sea, and it was the one channel our CCB picked up, our CCB TV picked up was. And it was a Star Trek scene. It was Kirk, and I can't remember who else it was, but I know he had a blue shirt. They were in this maze, and they were running away from like a giant, like it was supposed to be an evil panther. That was
Cat's
like,
paw?
yeah. But it was a kitten.
Yes.
And the kitten had the collar and the little bell on it. And I was like, no.
The collar is central to the episode. It's
Oh, so it's the only scene and then the CCTV cut out.
yeah, it's
So I was just like, okay. That was Star
So
Trek.
did this episode of the Galileo 7 change your mind at all?
Well, yeah, being later, you go back and like, oh, I should probably try this. And yeah, and you had said I should come on, and I wanted to, and it's fun. And I'm excited. I was excited to get started. And
Well,
I
do you
think
feel,
I'd
do you feel
start
your
watching
do you
it.
feel your tastes have changed? Do you feel this episode is a better
Definitely.
representation?
Definitely. Taste has definitely changed over the years. So, yeah.
So you liked this one?
Yeah, I liked this
Okay.
one.
Good. First impressions of the episode. What do we think? Good, bad, ugly, geeky?
it's a good episode. It's weird because it does a lot of weird things with Spock's character and
Yes.
the people around him. If you took Spock, if you're like, oh, I don't know Spock, and I don't know McCoy or Scotty, and you're just like, it's this guy on his first command mission, then you're like, oh, okay, they're going to the planet and all that. I think it's great. There's some issues for us who know the relationship, even just watching the first 16 episodes or whatever. And I know back when I was younger, when I read a lot of the fanzines, this was one of the episodes they thought really took the characters and did things with them that they shouldn't have.
True.
That said, I still think it's still a really good episode.
There were some glaring issues with it, but overall I found it enjoyable.
Yeah.
Sort of like the last episode we just watched.
Yeah.
I think some of my biggest issues with this, and we will dive in later, is production design. Honestly,
Like the rocks and stuff, or
yeah,
Like the
that
foam
and the
shipping off
spheres, yeah, and the
They had a very low budget.
But okay, there's a difference between
I
low
know.
budget and like. You
Let's
can
do that
see
scene
the
one more
set
time.
crumbling apart,
I didn't
and that's
catch
what
that.
we put on air. Like,
Well, they also had a very quick timetable they were moving through. So sometimes they just had to be like, this is the best we're going to get.
Jim is
Let's
the
move on.
apologist for anything wrong in Star Trek.
No, but I'm saying I think you need to take into account the speed of which they were going through their production and the budget they had if you're going to talk about those rocks and
And I wonder too how noticeable it actually was when it first aired, because
Yeah.
I
Right.
first watched it on a laptop. Like the first time of me going through, I watched.
he's such a baby.
Yeah, right. I watched it on just like online
So
on a
young.
laptop, and
So young.
I didn't notice it. But then when we rewatched it for this, we watched it on a very nice large HD
Right.
TV, and as soon as
Yeah.
that spear hit the rock, you see chunks flying off, and we just went, "Did that spear just knock
Yeah.
And in
chunks off the
standard
rock?"
definition in 1960
Right.
something, you're not
Well,
going to
over
know.
it.
You're right.
The grainy picture. Yeah, that's
Right.
what
We were doubling that last episode, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
watching it in the 70s, I saw it, one of its first go rounds in syndication, and again it was on even at best it was on a 28
Yeah.
color screen, and it was like, okay, those are okay, and then Star Wars came out, and I saw that, and everybody saw that, and then all of a sudden it was like it didn't look as good, and then
Well,
then all of a
that's
sudden
why.
everyone was like, we need to do some Star Trek movies.
And that's why
Yeah.
Star Trek had
absolutely.
another show coming on the air, and they immediately were like, even though we built sets,
Yep.
we've got scripts written, we're yanking that show, and we're
Yeah.
going to do a film
Yeah.
instead. Because of Star Wars.
but for 1975,
the
whatever.
Star Wars would never happen had Star Trek not.
yeah, 74, 75 though,
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah.
not so bad. Now it's
Yeah.
you got to.
Yeah.
There were some nice things about the episode, of course, but I was mostly frustrated, I think.
What were you
Overall.
most frustrated about?
I'm certainly by the character liberties.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of interested to hear Sam's perspective on the chain of command.
I
in
was
the
going
away
to say, with
missions.
her military background,
Yeah,
I'm sure she'll have
it's,
something to say about that.
In particular, I mean, what do I know? But at the same time, it just seemed, even one of the notes I mentioned was even like in the Next Generation, the level of sass that wouldn't fly in like Next Generation. Like the idea of like, oh come on, oh why don't we do that? Or sir, this is so
So I
awful.
have
Looking
an
at it.
observation, I think. I think if Kirk was the one in charge of the shuttle, they wouldn't be sassing. I think, and maybe this is just the day we're recording this is Inauguration Day, and I'll go ahead and mention that, because that pertains to what I'm about to say. I think they were showing a certain level of racism, as in speciesism, as in Spock is this foreign person coming in.
Ah.
We don't trust his judgment the way we will.
Oh, that's true. No, that's true.
That's
That's good.
They
Good
kept
point.
calling it his first command, but
Yeah.
that part.
That part was weird.
But what I wrote down was, I feel like he's the substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Right.
They treat him like
yeah.
a substitute teacher because
Yeah.
he
Okay.
didn't really do anything that wrong,
No.
and they were immediately
Questioning every decision.
Yeah, and they wouldn't have
Even
done
the ones that made sense.
And if they were on the Enterprise, they wouldn't have done that even to
No.
him. So
No.
Yeah.
And also very similar to just like a couple episodes ago where there was like the one guy on the bridge who was really against Spock.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
was that in
Yeah, that's
was
a
that
common
Balance
thing.
of Terror or something?
Yeah.
Or- yeah.
Styles.
Yeah, where he was really and
hate
so
Styles.
it
All
actually
Styles.
it felt almost, especially when Bones was really
Yeah.
like siding with the other crewmen.
Yeah.
It felt like a step backwards.
Because Bones and Spock have that great relationship in most
Yeah.
episodes. So to see Bones, Dr. McCoy turn against him
Yeah,
is
you
weird.
see them like joking around and disagreeing, but it's not to the extent that Bones is just like, "Come on."
Give
Now I-
Scotty credit.
Yeah.
Scotty stayed true.
He did. And I'd say a certain amount of the rebellion of the younger officers could be the pressure they were under and the
Yeah.
life
They'd never been on one of
situation they
those.
were
I'll give
And
you
that
that
does
too.
happen. And now, of course, being 1967 or whenever it was shitty, so it aired in 67. So I don't know when.
It was
when
probably shot in
so
66,
Probably.
yeah.
You know, it doesn't have the level of intensity. You know, because that was still the time of overacting.
Sure.
You know, so-
Stage actors coming onto the time.
Right.
This
Exactly.
is really subtle acting. I don't know what
Yes.
you're talking about.
Shatner is the king of subtlety.
But yeah.
Well, and the music's very under,
Very interesting.
especially if they're going to a commercial break.
In fact, I wasn't even sure we were watching a show. No idea what was going on.
The documentary.
It was. I was like, wow.
So a couple things. I mean, I do feel compelled to defend some of the portrayal of Bones to some extent. I mean, some of it may have been him trying to sort of intervene between
Help
the younger
him out.
officers and Spock to try to make it seem like someone was on their side to some extent to kind of translate
Bridge the
their
gap.
concerns. But it didn't really have the same feel of their camaraderie or his trust in what Spock would do.
Mm-hmm.
Although there is some of that, oh, you green-blooded bastard kind of thing. Also, one thing I hadn't thought of until you mentioned that, oddly enough, that would explain why they probably had the African American, like the one black guy on the crew, be the most vocal opponent of these things. Like, hey,
that down.
yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
I think it was a way to highlight
yes,
we're not going to show it's the way Star Trek would deal with social issues is we're not going to straight up be like you can't be mean to African American people, but we're going to show by using an African American man that you should not be racist
To anybody.
to anybody.
the funny thing about that, even in
Yeah.
present day, maybe even especially in present day,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how much easier it is to get across to like a mainstream white audience. Look at this is what intolerance is because this other person is displaying intolerance.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier for them to separate that from themselves and go, oh yeah, that's anyway.
So speaking of
Yes.
the African American guy, his name was Beaumont, and he was played by Don Marshall,
Yeah.
who was best known for Land of the Giants and Terminal Islands.
And he was on the Lieutenant Roddenberry show,
Oh, was he?
and he was engaged in Shell Nichols on that.
Oh. Interesting. He was in one episode of
Yeah,
the Lieutenant as
yeah.
Private Ernest Cameron.
Yeah.
One other unpopular thing I'd probably want to say. No,
Oh, jeez.
this does not.
Here we go again.
Yes, no,
We're
this
Star Wars.
no. No,
You will murder us all.
we're still on the subject of race and
There was a black guy in Star Wars.
only one, just
Just
one.
one.
Lando Calrissian.
Yeah,
Well, it happened a long, long time ago, so racism hadn't been dealt with yet.
my God damn it. Had not been dealt with yet. Yes,
Because now it's totally fixed.
Yeah.
It's totally, America's great again.
it's tremendous.
He's been president for like 10 hours. America's
he's on
already been
vacation.
fixed. I know.
After he got
This is going to be the best weekend of the next 4 years.
Oh, absolutely. No, you're not wrong. You say
Anyway,
that.
Keith has a point.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I mean, just from the idea. I mean, I think about these things occasionally. Or this is what was occurring to me as I was watching this. It is progressive, but at the same time, they have to whitewash, for lack of a better word, certain things as
That's a racist term.
Yes.
Sir.
I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding. Please continue.
as a vehicle for. I mean, this being the one African American on the crew, his hair was very straight and very very much not non-Afro. Like the facial features were also pretty close to being Caucasian. It was almost like
the non-threatening black guy.
It almost looked like the guy in Soul Man.
Yeah.
When he had the tan.
And what was the actor's name again?
Don Marshall.
Yeah, and he was like a lead in Land of the Giants, which was a big deal. Which I think is Keith's point, which is that guy could be on network TV then.
Yeah.
Well, I think going along with your point, one thing that unfortunately I did think of is I understand what like Gene Roddenberry was trying to do.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because I see people say it now, so I'm sure they did 50 years ago, that you probably also got the people that didn't get it and were just like, oh, that's reverse racism.
I can't even. I can't even imagine. I just don't. I'm glad that I don't know right now. I mean, it's fun and it's nice to be able to look back at those things and go, well, they could have done more, but even that much must have been just excruciating to if you would had like the internet or something for people to give that kind of feedback.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank God there wasn't Twitter then. But, I mean, honestly, I couldn't
This show
help...
sucks. Sad, not funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just couldn't help but think that because I've heard people say that both the idea of reverse racism and reverse sexism in the past few weeks leading up to the inauguration, and I'm just like, you are so privileged. You can't even
Well,
see
Amanda,
Well,
if
not
you just
her.
quit being reverse sexist, you
Just
would be.
to put reversed in front of it is
Yeah.
so weird. It's racism is racism is racism. Sexism is sexism is sexism. It does not
Yeah.
matter. It is
Yeah.
all wrong. So
Yeah, the
get
fact that
over it.
there's that the same people who are trying to say it doesn't exist can then say like, but it only goes this way, and if you do it to me, it's reverse, kind of.
My-
Yes.
They kind of contradict their own.
Yeah,
their
my,
own
my
absolutely.
friend who is white. This happened last month. My friend who is white has a black friend. Like we all do, right?
Just the one.
Just the one.
That's why I keep doing it.
And the
These
one
are
black
token
black
black
friend.
members.
Yes.
And he told my white friend, "Well, I can't be racist. I'm black." Flat, I can't be racist. I'm black.
Everyone's a little bit racist.
Everyone is, and I
in the
think-
immortal words of Avenue Q.
Yeah, I was
go.
about to say
There it
Avenue
is.
Q taught us.
Okay,
Love
well,
it.
all right. I've seen a thread like this blow up before, and there is the more like the sociological definition of that, which became more popular around the time I started college. In fact, around the early '90s, where the definition of racism was that you had to actually have to have an institutional advantage combined with prejudice for it to be technically racism. So in that sense, yes, I'm sure that he feels justified in saying those sorts of things, but
It just doesn't hold up. Yeah.
well, not only that, but it doesn't really serve any purpose. Or there's nothing constructive about trying to make those kinds of assertions.
It's sort of a semantics
Yes,
point at that.
right.
It's like okay, you're not dictionary definition racist, but you still hate
Right.
such and
Right,
such person
but-
because
Prejudice.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also
Doing
times
is wrong.
change. Times change, and groups change. People change. Those definitions are not always
Accurate,
they're not
yeah.
accurate anymore. Those definitions have to update just like we do as as a community, as a culture.
Well, the other thing I would submit about that is that usually the context of something like that coming up would be to shut down conversation, discussion about a certain topic, which would also not be constructive. It's to
Right.
say that your point is invalid because I am this and that. And it's not going to teach the person you're trying to shut down anything really useful. So, yes.
It's about conversation, not
Yes.
fighting. It doesn't get us anywhere.
Well, those almost sound like good points, but let's let the straight white man take over now.
Those women are gonna stop talking. I'm gonna go have a baby in the bathroom.
Just like me.
You will get your allotted time.
Come on,
You'll
Keith.
get your
The
allotted
three of
time.
us are no longer needed.
Gonna go,
No, and that's part of why we love the show and chose this show.
gonna go have me a baby like all other black men. That's black men and white women are exactly the same for that reason.
I was gonna go further with that. But
Oh God.
See, I think
no.
racial humor is so funny and it's so helpful. We all need to be able to laugh at ourselves and each other, and I think that's what moves people forward.
But yeah, that's something Star Trek did was just get you talking about.
Well, there's a balance
Yeah,
that has
yes.
to be there, but it is funny. We're all laughing about it, and that is what brings us all together as a person versus.
Well, we have to be able to talk about it. We have to be able to identify
Yes.
it. If we ignore it and we hide it, then we get President Trump. So you have to address it out in the open.
Yep.
And that is something Star Trek did extremely well back in its era.
Yeah.
Well, Star Trek also represents a certain environment or certain containment for that kind of discussion. Like just like we all are here, we can kind of joke about these sorts of things because we understand we have a certain kind of common viewpoint about it that allows it for that kind of we don't really mean this, we don't really think this. We can kind of be ironic and not. It's a sort of assumptive in some ways, and who knows, but.
When Gene Roddenberry, who created the show, wasn't a science fiction fan. He didn't really want to make a science fiction show, but that's what he had to do to talk about these issues. And so that's why it is what it is. And that's why some of these episodes don't feel like science fiction at all. Yeah. They'll feel like a Western, or they'll feel like a military episode, or we've noticed several of the episodes we've covered have distinctive genres that aren't science fiction because a lot of the people he was bringing in and writing and himself were not looking at it from a science fiction perspective.
Yeah.
So we've been talking very generally. What specific things do we...
Lots of tangents for
Lots of tangents.
this
Yeah.
one, more than usual.
One thing that I noticed, like, they kept talking about the alien creatures that were on this planet, and they kept saying, like, oh, they're tribal.
Well, Spock said they weren't tribal, but the other people, the more base, I don't know. The
Reactionary.
Reactionary.
Humans, yes.
I thought they were making judgments as officers, and like one of them was supposed to be an expert. And then Spock was using his super hearing to...
Because Spock was like, I don't think they're advanced enough to be tribal yet. It's too early. And then the other officers immediately ignored him and started talking about tribal again.
Yeah.
Well, they were throwing spears that were clearly constructed as weapons.
Yes.
Very poorly.
Yes.
But that's part of
That one lucky shot.
the production. Yeah, that makes the production value of like you just see spears just like
Falling,
falling head like just like laterally.
Yeah.
Just
broadside.
yeah.
That's the term.
Now, in the 60s, that's how they thought spears were thrown. I'm just kidding.
We hadn't traveled to Africa.
To be fair, they probably didn't get many opportunities to throw these spears.
Hey.
It's true.
We never saw any animals or any other tribes.
It was a bunch of
Get
people
over
like
it.
us sitting around trying to... Oh, we have to throw spears? I don't know. I don't play
But
sports.
just,
They're like-
that productionist, like, there's like 3 of them, like, ready, guys?
Yeah. Well, they're like throwing them underhand. They're like throwing them like underhand. Like here's a lob.
And
It was really heavy.
they're just styrofoam, like big, thick, like poles. Like those are.
They were built
They're
more
designed
for...
to look like they're supposed to be thrown, but they're not actually designed to be thrown.
Yes.
And that was where part of my production design thing went with that. Like, you could have
give you
made
that
a
one.
spear that
Out of
looked
sticks.
out of an actual. You literally could have walked outside and found a stick and tied something to it.
To make
Yeah.
it that big. I'm saying with time and budget, I'm not sure that was an option.
Well,
but
I
I
think
get
it was
where
also-
that would have been nicer.
I think
I
those
get what you're
creatures
saying.
couldn't throw
It would have
that
taken
well,
less
probably.
time
It
to put
would
that
have-
together and been cheaper.
Yeah, it would have been cheaper and less time if they had literally like taken a branch from a tree.
To find a branch that big.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
I told
Well,
you, Star Trek apology.
How did Gaetano die? Was he bear hugged to death?
Yeah.
Well, they just kind of cut away. They hadn't show us.
Any marks
Yeah,
on
yeah,
or
But
anything?
not at all. No blood, nothing.
He's dead.
He just can't climb
I
up
thought he was just
the.
passed
He can't climb up the cliff at all.
He was just tucking him so tight he accidentally squeezed him to death.
The worst
He was
climber.
Gaetano was the original girl in a slasher film who's like,
Oh my god.
help
So
me.
funny.
Yeah, he was just.
Gaetano, who was played by Peter Marco, who is famous for the Capitol Hill Girls and 12 O'Clock High.
And being an expert climber in real life. Yeah.
Oh my god. It was like, hey, look, you're trying to climb the smooth part of that cliff. Just to your right, there's a part that has handholds.
Well, and I don't understand why. So they leave Gaetano there, and he's like, "Let's just shoot him." Nobody's around. He could. Why didn't he just shoot?
Just go shoot him.
Wait, this is actually like a legitimate question that I don't know if I just missed. why did they even leave him there in the first place? Because Spock's just like,
He said the guard.
Yeah,
"But to guard what?"
I don't know.
Against the
Come for
return.
the shuttle. I gave him
Yeah.
a warning, a heads up.
Yeah, because there was a bottleneck there
Okay,
to
all
get
right.
back to their
But
shuttle.
apparently, as we found out from the other
military
shuttle,
strategist.
they were covering the entire planet.
That's right.
There were so many travel people all over the planet. I don't even know where they found the resources.
Excuse me, Jimmy. That's creatures.
Sorry. I did not like that they called them creatures. I'm like, they're more advanced than
either,
that.
yeah.
But it's that Star Trek thing where your entire planet is homogeneous. It's not like specific regions and specific areas.
Well, I was super proud of myself because I was like, I made a note and then it all made sense. And I was like, oh my god, I'm smart. You know, Spock comes out, uses super hearing. It says, you know, they're using wood. If you're not, if you're something above a creature, you know, creatures aren't going to know how to use tools and wood and stuff like that. So they're using wood. And the first thing I thought of was was earthworms, because you put like this big wooden dowel down the ground and you use like a serrated wood thing and you make this noise and the vibrations bring the earthworms to the top. So the
never heard
noise
that
is
before.
bringing out the people. The noise is bringing out people. The people are the earthworms. That's what they want to kill. Two,
Yeah. They make
that old school classic Bigfoot. What year did the Patterson footage come out? That was in 70 something. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
A little later.
so yeah, it was later.
Not long after.
But there were still theories that
Yeah.
Bigfoot uses wood knocks to signal each other.
Huh.
And then they had the giant foot, and I was like, oh wait. So
There was definitely some inconsistency in the size of the footprint, the size of the being, and the size of the shield.
the shield cracked me up.
They are like definitely some inconsistencies there. Unless they're like Hobbit people that have much bigger feet for their height and also use oversized shields.
Which in that
weapons.
craggy terrain, I could buy
possible,
that.
yeah.
They report to Kirk that they're 10 to 12 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yes.
But again, here's some production issue. They didn't make that consistent on
No, they
at
didn't.
all.
They didn't.
Well, maybe they're bigger in different parts of the planet.
Or that was
Right.
a shrimp. The one we
Or that
saw
one
was
was
a
that
shrimp.
baby.
Yeah, it was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a baby.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Commissioner
Oh,
Ferris.
Patterson footage.
Gosh.
Patterson footage was shot in 1967.
Okay,
Oh,
so
how about that?
this still was done first.
But still,
not by
yeah,
much.
but
Wow.
still.
So Commissioner Ferris, played by John Crawford, who is famous for The Enforcer and The Cyanide Adventure.
Huh.
And
what
he did 40 episodes of The Waltons as the sheriff.
Oh.
There you go.
But anyway, he was ridiculous.
He was
He
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
no care for human life whatsoever.
Well,
His-
wasn't he trying to?
he was
they had
trying
to
to-
save people on another planet, though, right?
Yeah. They were bringing medicine because of a plague.
He seemed kind
I
of a, he seemed
understand
kind of a
that,
dick
but-
about it. And
yeah,
he's the TPS reports guy. He's just constantly like, did you know we have to leave in 2 days? Yeah, I got it.
So I'm talking about Lundberg.
Yeah, yeah. He just saw that. He just keeps coming back.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
Yeah,
keep going.
because he's just like,
Jettison
do you know we have
that.
23 hours? Yeah, I got it. 22? I got it. I know what it is.
See, I really wanted them to find their shuttle with like 29 hours left. I'm like, you got 2 days. Yeah, we got it after less than a day. It's cool.
I mean,
it doesn't have to be a last minute
He
rescue.
wasn't helping at all. That does not help. And
And he would only come up to the bridge to just be
Yeah.
like, I'm annoying you.
yeah,
Yeah.
Which they do.
No, or something weird. All right. One question I have first.
Sure.
So, was it an exploratory mission? Why were they in the away team to begin with? What were they just like? trying to...
Their standing orders were if they came near a quasar or quasar-like, whatever, they had to investigate it. Although, why they needed 7 of them on that shuttle when only 2 of them could use controls?
well, the
I
episode
don't
was
know.
called the Galileo 7. So
I understood. And Lost, when they did the Oceanic 6, was just copying.
No. I do have a question about
Yeah.
that. The title being the Galileo 7.
Yes.
Was it a reference at all to the Mercury 7?
Probably.
Could have been.
Because that's what I instantly thought of is, the Mercury 7 astronauts, which would have been at the beginning.
That could very well be. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would have been early 60s, yeah.
So I thought that was a way for them to be like, hey, look, guys, space, and it's called the Galileo 7, like the Mercury
while
7.
Jim
Interesting.
looks that up, should we talk about
May
the
1961.
one little bit of fashion?
Yeah. Fashion beat.
Wait, there was something else.
So, yeah, the commissioner.
Laughed immediately.
Who, at first I was like, oh, are those flaps on his arms? No, he must have a full cape. No. When he turned around, it's
cape.
just sleeve capes.
That's when you know someone's a
Wait,
proper
it wasn't.
They have
It didn't cover his whole back, or was it just like
It was
just
two
the
capes?
sleeve.
Just 2 capes.
Cape-
on
oh
the-
my God.
They were
Yeah.
sleeve
I didn't
capes.
catch
to
that.
drive the
Like
message
a-
home. He was a jerk.
Though I thought his outfit looked was reminiscent in color and style of the uniforms they wear in Star Trek Enterprise. I mean, they don't have sleeve capes,
Right.
but it's that blue and it's got those 2 vertical lines down the center.
Did it have the pompous ascot?
No.
That was the very first note I took was Paisley Ascot. That's the very first note I took down.
I was like, you were worse than Freddie Jones. You're so pompous and annoying, and your sleeve capes and your ascot and he always looked smug.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he looked so smug.
That's what I was going to say. So at the beginning, it was I know maybe a strange bit of it. Maybe it's like an acting choice on his part, which was kind of strange. It seemed sort of like he was almost pleased when something seemed like to be going wrong at the beginning, like he was responsible somehow, and it never was resolved.
I thought
It was,
that too. I was like, did he somehow sabotage them? Because he seems really happy that people could be dying.
Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, you only have 23 hours left. Excellent. Let's get out. But yeah,
Excellent.
my first note was, it's awesome in Star Trek that you know exactly who the bad guy is before they've ever said / done anything. And I refer to him as the guy in the tracksuit. The guy in the tracksuit just walks in.
There were a
My
lot of
Adidas.
sticky lines.
Yeah.
The lines down the sleeves, the same color and material top and bottom. I just
but
got like
different
weird
patterns.
80s, like
Yeah, they had a slight pattern to them.
Yeah, the front and the back were different patterns.
It was
Sleeve
the same
case.
color. But yeah, slightly different, like one-tone paisley patterns.
Yeah, it was
to
bizarre.
To offset the two-toned paisley ascot. I mean,
I hope sleeve capes make a comeback.
We need to make some sleeve capes and sell them.
Let's do a Tom and Then Radio Hour t-shirts with sleeve
Sleeve
capes.
capes.
Oh wow!
in the last episode, Stephen, you said Colleen needs to get that wig.
Oh,
from the
yeah.
one from Ruth.
I'll get her on some.
I
sleeve
think
capes.
you need to wear this outfit and
I'm-
have sleeve capes.
Halloween
do it.
costumes are being planned.
There we go.
Halfway to Halloween party,
That's right.
which will have already happened by the time this goes up. Sorry, Shane, I would promote it for you if it hadn't already happened.
We try.
if they have standing orders to investigate every quasar, why do they not have more perfected quasar protocol?
Well, this is the first one that actually got close to.
I mean, I guess because they're like, we have to investigate every single one of these.
Yep.
The ship goes out and they just instantly lose track of it, and I don't know. That just doesn't.
They should have
seem
at least
they
had a
thought that
rope
out.
or something.
A flare gun to shoot out the window.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't even got to the credits and things have already gone completely off the
Yeah,
rails.
like,
You're right.
just like if you can't communicate through a quasar, like why would you investigate every?
Maybe send a manless probe, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
The other fashion thing is the sparkly safety gloves that Scotty puts on
Oh, yeah.
to electrocute the creature aliens.
Shares gloves.
Which, yes, Sam said Cher's gloves, and I instantly thought Dr. Horrible.
This sparkle on Dr. Horrible?
No, they don't.
Just
But that
very-
would have made it more fabulous.
Right?
And speaking of Scotty's gloves, pretty much if Scotty wasn't on one of the 7, they're dead.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
They don't have
Yeah,
a chance.
absolutely.
He was truly like the most calm and just
He was
like,
pretty
handled
awesome.
everything. And I got really annoyed when he's working and Bones is just sitting there with his feet in the way. I was like,
Well, everybody on the Galileo 7 was doing the same thing as the damn commissioner.
yeah.
How's that going?
Except for Yeoman and Mears, who was only there so they could get to 7.
Yeah.
Played by Phyllis
Is
Douglas.
that
Yes.
seventh base?
She couldn't do the burial.
She can do anything. She is most famous for Gone with the Wind.
Oh, did you say
Yeah.
face like
She has
baseball?
a-
Bonnie
Oh my
Blue
God.
Butler.
She had to be the little kid in that.
What would what they
I consider her as Yeoman cleavage.
Age 2. Bonnie Blue Butler, age 2.
She when they decide to electrify the outside of the ship.
Yes.
So she's in the middle of the two guys, and she's bent over, and they're just going back and forth, shaking.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Oh,
the
yeah,
first
absolutely.
only time she's showing cleavage. Until we get to later, it's not cleavage, but it's her whole Playboy shot.
Oh my
Her
god.
Playboy
Yes.
kneel on the ground.
Yeah, like what I said.
Sam and I discussed this.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
She looked
I don't know if
like.
women really should have an opinion on that.
Listen, white man.
I have an opinion on how it looked. I think you already know it, but you guys continue.
She looked like a submissive waiting for orders.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
And I wrote down like what she said.
It definitely looked dirty.
It was just ridiculous.
Because like her back was arched too, and she was like,
Well, and the skirt comes up, and it was
The,
just.
the line was, "We're moving."
You better be
Goes
moving.
down and like takes the position, either submission or she was about to give a blowjob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's down again in the middle of all the guys, and I'm like, oh my god.
Can you
That's
guys
the deleted scene.
Can we go through this again? But can you guys just tell it slower?
So then
Oh, now we got some. Can we kill the, let's just
she's
kill the mic
in
here.
the middle.
Ratings.
All the guys.
Moving.
I know I was defending McCoy earlier, but I have a couple of notes about him
Sure.
I'd recall. The first of them was when he was actually defending. When I was like, these guys are just being jerks about the whole thing about like, we have to give him a proper burial. We have to do blah, blah, blah. And McCoy actually kind of seemed to be agreeing with him to some extent. Like, oh, you should be a cap. You should inspire them with some words. My note was, his eulogy would be like, he's dead, Jim.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's like...
He's dead, Spock.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so why... Yeah, that was a strange character thing. Another, this is one of the only sexist things that happened in the episode was when the yeoman was getting, one of the times they were all getting off the ship for some reason to, oh my god, let's see what's going on with the spears.
Yeah.
You saw helped her down, like
because then
holding the back, like okay, here we go,
I
here we go,
saw
lady,
that.
here we go. Let's usher her over to
because
the
in the
door.
last episode,
Just,
Sulu did it with Barrows.
Yes.
Yeah.
When they were going to investigate something, for
Yeah.
some reason, he had his hand on the smaller back. I'm like,
That's old school.
Yeah.
That's old
They do
school
that a
from
lot.
the
Yeah.
40s, 50s.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
They did that a lot on
that's,
the show.
you know, oh.
but
That-
then again,
that's
I don't know
old
if
school
human
gentleman.
cleavage could really handle herself. Based on, she couldn't even help with the burial of Katana, for Christ's sake.
Okay, this brings me to a question for the two of you who are more versed in the original series.
I wasn't sure where that was going.
Two of you who are awful human beings.
We're more versed in dickishry.
I mean, that's fair too.
Is there ever a male yeoman? Or the only female?
Interesting.
Not that I recall.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
In the real Navy, they're a male
I'm sure
yeoman.
there are. I'm sure there are, but I don't recall Star Trek ever
I
doing
can't remember if it was the first episode. It seemed like there was a guy who was playing that role, but he doesn't have any lines, doesn't do anything, doesn't rub his
Okay.
back or any of that stuff. So
Because this, Rand has
Delivering
left
drinks.
at this point.
Yeah.
Like the woman
And this
on
is the second
on
episode
the
in a row
bridge.
that it's
Yeah.
another random
Here, have some
woman.
water.
I feel
But I
like
don't think
Rand.
Rand would have been on the shuttle because this character
Right.
had nothing to do with it. It didn't
Right.
feel like a Rand character.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, so far, all of
Yes.
the yeomans we're seeing are young.
Well, of course, this is
Women.
Kirk's ship.
Yeah.
Go to a different ship if you want male yeoman.
They all seem to be like,
Glorified secretaries.
Yeah, I was-
Secretaries were women.
I was about to say like cigarette girls almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the
Bring you the styrofoam cups of emptiness.
Yes. Emptiness. Styrofoam cups of
Cigars,
They
cigarettes,
drink air in
Yeah.
the future.
cans of oxygen, Spaceballs.
I love Spaceballs.
I thought it was interesting. Kelowitz was the crewman on the bridge, played by Grant Woods.
Don't remember yet.
Nope.
Who that
The
is.
guy that was on the bridge.
What was he doing?
Okay.
He was
Was
in the
he the one-
helmsman area, like up front.
Oh, he was
next
the one
to Sulu.
opposite of Sulu.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was navigator. That character appears in 2 other episodes of this original series, which is pretty rare for the original series. It's usually like one and done. But we will see him again in Arena and This Side of Paradise.
Oh, and I think
Both
actually the
1967
woman who
episodes.
played Yeoman Cleavage comes back.
Yeoman Cleavage.
Yeah.
Yeoman Mears, Phyllis
I think in
Douglas.
Way to Eden.
Yes, as a different
Is
character.
it Way to
yes.
Eden? Is that the name of it?
Journey? Yes, The Way to Eden.
Way to Eden, yeah.
In 1969, so
Yeah.
down the road. But she's just girl number 2 in that one.
Yeah. But I bet she has a similar role.
Underneath.
Probably.
Actually, she is. The one picture I looked at, she actually is.
So Latimer, this is like his last IMDb credit, so maybe he actually did die down on the surface.
Poor
Recently.
Oh no.
I
In
still
real
feel
life,
like-
too.
No, he
They
has one
just
other
buried
credit
him on the
afterwards.
set. Now he haunts it.
I still feel like the other 6, even Gitano,
Spock
like,
just said leave
I wish
him.
she'd been Gitano.
Speaking
Not
of which,
Latimer.
speaking of these extras, I think it's great. Like, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the part where there's just there's 3 extras who we've never seen of in the series, and then they're asking Scotty about how are we going to get off the planet. He's like, we need to lose weight, about the weight of 3 men. And then it's kind of like, well, I guess I know where this is going.
I know,
how do we
it's something
decide?
Because they're not throwing the girl off.
Right,
So
yeah.
some of
No,
you are
she's
gonna
like-
die.
Yeah.
That brings me to the joke that I showed Sam that I haven't brought up yet. Like,
Hey, they only killed 2. They didn't kill 3.
I was gonna say, speaking
One
of
of them
dying
did get
crewmen,
back.
we're 4:30 and falling fast at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're under
Yeah.
4:30. You were saying, Keith.
I'm sorry. Yes. Right after Spock was talking about how he's going to decide, he said, "Hey, let's all go off the ship and look at something real quick." And I was hoping he was going to be like, "All right, go." After like 3 of them got off, just.
Like he's got parachutes on his back.
Yeah.
Go!
Well, no, I mean, like as soon as the 3 people like he wants to get rid of
Blast off.
step off, just close the door. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah. Just.
That
yeah.
would have been funny.
Yeah.
I just found this accidentally looking at the IMDb page for this episode, but the actor who played the creature is named Robert Big Buck Maffey.
Of
Awesome.
course it is.
And this is one of his top 4 credits he's known for because he didn't do much. But what he's best known for shortly after this is playing the Dark Lord Soren in the animated Lord of the Rings movie.
Huh.
Ooh.
His other name like Robert Soup Can.
He also played the giant Cyclops in 2 episodes of Lost in Space.
Oh,
Recurring role.
all right,
Nice.
yeah.
Two episodes.
Ted Cassidy was probably always beating him out for the same roles. That's probably what kept happening.
All right. Well, there was another couple things I mentioned
Sure.
about the. Well, specifically, one of the things that was frustrating me about this, other than like the break and rank, and what I think we had some pretty good explanations for that. In general, there was that message again of the emotional, irrational way is best. You should fall in line with the will of the people who are just like jumping, like, oh, we need to be doing this because we feel bad.
Yeah, you should.
And that kind of just, God. I mean, even, or a couple things about that. First of all, I do like that they were kind of, if you were paying attention, Spock was doing a lot of things to back up what he was. I mean, he was willing to put himself in harm's way. He wasn't asking him to do anything that he wouldn't do himself.
Yeah.
And they did kind of highlight that maybe they weren't really paying attention to how he actually was about what was going on. Like his rationale for doing things, in fact, was more compassionate than what they were saying, which was, I need to work so we can save as many people as possible. We need to like maybe not just try to kill them. That won't do any good. Let's just try to scare them.
Yeah.
Preserve life. Let's not kill needlessly.
He was acting like Kirk there.
And I'm hoping that that message came through.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing at the end, though, when Kirk was trying to convince Spock that he was behaving irrationally. When you really think about it, that the gamble was their best shot. I mean, they could ride around, and float aimlessly for 45 minutes and then fall anyway, or do something that might signal
Sure.
Right.
somebody in a short burst of time, like as soon as possible. So
If this episode was
absolutely
remade
logical.
today after they burst into space, they'd then have to jump out of the shuttle and try to make it into the end of the like the Martian, just line it up perfect.
Why doesn't the Galileo have phasers? Or some kind of weapon?
the shuttles,
Yeah.
the little.
Because of the budget.
I know that's why, but
Yeah, but wouldn't there be some sort of
yeah, I mean, if you're
protection
going
on it?
into,
I did
you're landing
enjoy
on
that the
planets.
second shuttle was named Columbus. though.
Yeah,
that
I was
was
like,
it.
we
Yeah.
Didn't catch
Well, I mean, it was because of the Explorer, Galileo, Columbus.
Yeah.
Although the other shuttles they have in this series we've seen are Einstein and Da Vinci, so it's not all explorers. It's
Well, Galileo
Brilliant minds.
Influential.
but clearly
Yeah.
Columbus makes Columbus makes a comeback.
An explorer.
That's true. Either Columbus makes a comeback in reputation in the next 300 or 400 years, or our city becomes so awesome
Maybe
that they're
that's
going to name a
what
shuttle after the city. And I tend to think there's probably a shuttle Mad Lab on there as well.
well, after it becomes so huge.
After it becomes huge.
Right. Taking
Just
up
dominates
whole
the
city blocks.
cityscape.
Well, yeah. Well, after the 6th Tony, they kind
Well,
of.
there, that solves the problem from our last episode where there were no references after
Yes.
the 1700s. So, yeah,
all because of Packer Ratcliffe and Nikki Smith.
there you
Yes.
go.
They become so huge. because of
Yes, exactly.
All the shuttles are shaped like doll heads.
My last note is
that.
we talked about all the sass and everything.
Yeah.
So Kirk goes in to ask the transport guy, "Hey, are these things working or not?" He's like, "Yeah," and he's like, and then he's like, "Well, how are they gonna find them? That's a big planet." It's like, yeah, I know, transporter guy. I'm the captain. I know it's a big planet. Why don't you just fix the damn
Now you want Kirk to
transporter?
go, what? Wait, it's a big planet? I thought it was a small planet.
Oh, never mind.
I look through the window and I can pitch it between my fingers.
We're this far away from it on the map, okay?
That was one of my other comments. Actually, was Captain Kirk, the captain of an entire effing ship, is okay with taking orders from the or the commissioner. Yeah, it's like, oh, we got to go. All right, well, we got to go.
Regulations.
Yeah, as opposed to the crewman on the
right.
away mission, like, oh, come on, Spock, we have to do that.
Kirk's more professional.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a higher rank. It's like, well,
I
all right,
do
let's go.
recommend watching the special effects update of this episode
Oh,
because
yeah.
we reviewed a few of the sequences and major difference.
Yeah.
The shuttle bay we were kind of iffy on, but the planet, the burning of the fuel from the shuttle, all that stuff looks so much better in the new version.
The only thing that
The
looked better
quasar
was the
itself.
shuttle
Yeah.
bay itself.
Right.
That
Looked
looked
better, like practical.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying close enough attention to Enhanced to really compare, but
I had a couple more production notes since, again, that is what bothered me the most in this. Well, one, Scotty's tools that he was playing with looked like kids' toys.
Yeah.
Little kids' blocks. Yeah, they were like kids' blocks. And then all of a sudden there was one screwdriver.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah.
One actual screwdriver. And I was like, why is there one normal tool and the rest of these are completely
Because screwdrivers are timeless.
abstract? Then
just like Shakespeare.
Yes.
also, there was the split screen fog when the
Yes,
first
that
guy
was funny.
died. That it just seemed unnecessary for them to do like a split screen there. That's where they used up their budget needlessly.
What was it?
When the first guy dies, he's like hit by the spear, and then he
Yeah.
falls into the fog.
All right,
and
right.
then it was a split screen where you could tell they had put something up to make it completely foggy, so you couldn't see where he fell. And then above that, you could see.
That was super funny,
It
but at
just-
least you could see the dead
The
guy's
huge
feet.
spear sticking straight up.
But it just, it was
Like
sort
the
of
Wicked
like,
Witch.
it seemed like the director was like, let's do something cool here with the shot, and instead it looks bad and probably wasted budget.
Probably.
If they had stuck with the smoke that they used
There
for all
was
the
one
other
cool
scenes, it would have been
camera
much better.
pan actually from you're looking at Uhura and Kirk from like hit the right of the chair and then it sweeps in front of the helmsman and the navigator.
Yeah,
That was
that
one
was-
cool shot. I remember seeing that before.
They should have cut to the hallway scene and people listening to announcements over the
And the
PA.
tennis playing couple.
Yes.
Tennis couple.
Our favorite couple. I will say one positive thing. The shuttle door effects of like how they open and close, I thought that looked good for the time
Oh, yeah.
period.
Oh yeah,
then-
yeah, the shuttle.
Two last questions. One, I was really hoping that we would see, because when they were using the beamer to,
The transporter.
so when they were
Hilarious.
beaming the rest of the surviving Galileo crew off of the shuttle, they were all in a seated position. What does that look like when they get in the transporter room?
Oh, they stand. When they rematerialize, they're always standing. Unless they're crouched.
I hadn't thought of
Crouching,
that.
you can do
Yeah.
that.
Because they were
hadn't
like
thought
in a
of
seated
it's,
position,
yeah.
and then all it
Well, they
showed
didn't show
was
it,
the bridge. But I
yeah.
really wanted it to show them like still sitting and then
And going,
like,
whoa!
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
But there have been scenes of Star Trek where they're beaming sitting and then they're appearing standing. But if you get into the science of the transporter, they're actually molecularly destroying you
No.
and rebuilding
Yeah.
you.
They
from
could
the
put you
stored
in a
matter.
position.
Oh, I've never.
Basically, you're murdered every time you use the
Yeah.
transporter.
My last thing is
They
at
start
the
listening
end,
to the product.
Yeah.
there-
Laughing again?
Well, laughing again, but
Two in a
there-
row.
2 in a row with laughing, 2 in a row where footprints play a key role at some point.
Hey, those are both better patterns than 4 in a row of sexual assault.
True.
So let's keep
But another pattern, we have another moment between Spock and Kirk where
True.
I was going
Sexually
kiss,
charged?
kiss,
Their
because they
mouths
should
were
have been
just so
kissing.
close together.
Because
It is a Marianne moment, as we.
Kirk's like lounging over
Maybe
around
some of this
Spock
movies.
and being like,
His
"So,
wife, yes.
what were these decision-making things you did?"
They're bro flirting really hard.
Oh yeah,
Spock, let me put my arm around you while we discuss this thing.
yeah. Pretty
Do a
much.
little
I mean, it
tap and
wasn't like
tickle.
Spock going like, "Oh, naughty Kirk" this time, but
Do your Vulcan genitals look like human genitals?
Do they split like this too?
Oh no!
Steven just did the Vulcan level across for him.
No.
Why did
Steven, what was your alternate episode this time?
Oh, I didn't even have one.
Make one up.
It was just that good.
Well, what I was gonna say is when Spock and Kirk were having their moment, then when it pulls out and they're all laughing, Uhura and Mears are pretty clipped together, pretty charming.
Girls.
Wait, who was Mears? The yeoman?
Yeah.
Yeah, or as Stephen has referred to
Yeoman
her.
cleavage.
Yeoman
yeah.
cleavage. Yeah. I mean, she got hot on that Galileo.
She sure did.
Oh, she was pulling her shirt down.
She heated up faster than the guys.
But her makeup did
it's so
not
hot in
smear.
here.
That's a true professional.
That's right. She was good at that.
My alternate episode is the plague victims on the planet die just before they get there with the medicine.
They're plague victims? Where they're going. Yeah, okay. So,
We miscalculated.
it's hilarious.
And then they look at Spock, and Spock's like, what you gonna do?
Well, then, but
Oh,
that
that's
works,
fantastic.
Because then Spock gets to be like, you guys were the ones who were saying that, like, it doesn't matter how many people survive and how many people die.
Yeah.
So, like, they can't really pull that card if they accidentally
Yeah, he
kill
did
the
This is
say-
plague.
what emotion does.
Exactly.
Yeah, because he said you shouldn't have
So
waited.
Spock wins regardless.
It's the guy from Conscious the King. His brother is there. His
Oh,
identical twin.
like-
and he's murdered half the people.
Kodos.
Kodos,
Yes.
Kodos the executioner.
Oh, he's
brother.
that's right.
He's now murdered half the planet to keep him alive.
Oh no, then we're gonna have a whole nother thing.
Another Shakespeare play.
where Kirk is seducing a woman too young for him.
But that's acceptable.
Fingers crossed. Here we go.
We've discussed this.
Just like the shots.
Opposite sex, men, women of Star Trek.
I'm sticking with Barrows.
Sticking with
As
Barrows.
attractive as Yeoman cleavage was.
I'm sticking with
Rodriguez? Are you sure? Because, I mean, I feel like, what's
No love for Latimer?
Bomo or whatever, Boma.
Oh, Boma, yeah.
Yeah.
Boma was a bit of a jerk.
I know, that's why I mentioned
Yeah, but he's
him.
not bad looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't base.
What about that giant creature?
Dead sexy.
I mean,
Or the
What-
commissioner.
The commissioner.
The commissioner's
yeah.
got some powers.
You can hold on to those capes.
I'm a big fan of sleeve capes now.
So
But-
if Rodriguez had sleeve capes.
Oh
Yes!
my god, my panties are wet.
I'm sticking with yellow feathered showgirl. Would anyone else like to weigh in on who they thought was sexy?
I'm gonna weigh in and go with Shatner.
We
He was pretty cute
disqualify
back
main
then.
characters.
Well,
I'm
I
actually
don't
kind of.
know.
Then I guess I'm kind of backed into a corner with
You got
Yeoman-
Mears.
with
I
Yeoman
don't know
cleavage
enough.
over there, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
She's a good choice.
I'll give Beaumont some love because I don't know any of the other characters, and he wasn't bad looking.
Okay.
But I don't know. McCoy has really pretty eyes.
I was.
They were
Also the
very-
eye
Also
makeup.
main character.
Yeah.
Also a principal
Oh yeah,
character.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So
give
I've-
Beaumont a little love.
I will say that Sam is. I'm surprised at how good looking Shatner was back then. Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
wouldn't have thought that. Yeah.
He very much was. I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, because I asked you guys what your stuff was, like, what should I be looking for? And you're like, well, we do this, this, and this. So I was like, okay, it was attractive. Shatner's attractive back in the day, man. Like, I
Yeah.
get you some. But yeah, like, Beaumont's an attractive guy. I don't know. Maybe if I do more of these, I'll see some more people.
I wrote
and-
down what you have, so you can always knock them off.
Yeah.
From last
Yeah,
episode,
I
I forget.
You are not a Pringles can, sir. Get out.
You are HBG.
I bet those giants might be.
I'm not to figure that
creatures.
acronym out at some point.
Creatures.
I did forget to mention I would have loved to see Marianne and like Angela's hairstyle at some point from like last
Yeah.
episode.
And where do we rank the episode?
I don't know to compare to other episodes.
Yeah.
Sam doesn't go way in.
No, that's fine. It's usually more the three of us that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But you
enough.
got, if you've seen these, you can weigh in as well. Want to start in the middle?
Yeah.
Seems like the best policy, doesn't
in the middle.
Above or below the corporate?
I would probably say start toward the bottom on this one because I mean simply because the character choice and the frustration of like it's very much the whole
And you had a lot of production complaints.
yes
I had a ton of production.
the American allegory of let's be emotional about everything and just
Okay,
Whatever.
I'm going to
Just got
start
to say.
mid-bottom.
Okay.
Few up. Above or below the enemy within?
I think it's above if you want the guest perspective,
Yeah.
but
I
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
You don't-
that I'd
you don't
put it
know?
above.
oh,
What's below Enemy Within?
Dagger of the Mind. The psychiatric hospital.
Yeah.
I
Sounds like it would be
I
interesting.
think it's
You would
probably
think.
above Dagger.
I think it's
Mind,
above Dagger of the Mind.
Yeah.
but I think it might be below.
Below Enemy Within?
What's next above Enemy Within?
Miri.
I put it above Miri.
I'm not a big fan of Miri, so I would too.
Yeah.
I think you guys are making a good choice.
I would be okay with that because that episode really bugged me.
Okay, so next time we will be talking about another Star Trek episode whose name I don't
Really?
know because I haven't pulled up. Squire
Squire
Gothos.
Gothos.
We will be talking about the Squire of Gothos.
That sounds dark.
The IMDb description is a being that controls matter and creates planets, wants to play with the Enterprise crew.
So it was almost like a Clint, maybe a Q.
Exactly.
Somewhere in between there.
Exactly. There have been novels that hypothesize this character was a Q.
Yeah.
So we will be back with some or all of us whenever in 1 week's time for the podcast.
On a Friday or
For the podcast. We need to schedule.
Joe,
it.
well, I'll go grab my calendar.
So have a good week.
Bye.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for having